Good morning. It's a glorious morning today. You got the cobwebs. I'm not really a fan of spiders, but when you see the cobwebs across the trees, it just looks so nice. It's weird seeing myself on camera with shorter hair because for the past 4 years I've had longish hair and I've cut it to maybe like medium in length. To me is like shoulder height. I just wanted to freshen things up a little bit. I'm a big believer in reinventing yourself, or they say you can't reinvent the wheel, but I believe you can. This is kind of a throwback look for me. I always used to have my hair sort of combed over. So this isn't, watching my brother. I don't have a twin brother. I appreciate it might be a little bit jarring at first. So I want to talk about releasing ourselves from the grip of material possessions. It's kind of ironic talking about this on a channel like this. Sometimes I've always been a person where I've actively tried not to ever be a cliche, because obviously this video's outside and it's the environment's part of the video, and it would be quite obvious that somebody like me perhaps would talk about getting rid of material possessions, where I'm somebody myself who has a lot of material possessions, and I'm somebody myself who doesn't necessarily actually want to give up the society we've created. I actually quite like it, the society we've created. For example, the coffee maker, the air fryer, the books, the comfy bed, the TV, the drinks, the shops on demand, the cafes, the restaurants, the cinemas. They're things I don't actually want to remove from my life. However, I absolutely adore coming out into nature and walking. Sometimes I walk headphone free, sometimes I have headphones on, I'm listening to music, some nice jazz or something. I'm just getting something back from what the society, what I'm kind of trying to protect, is taken from me. Because it's not natural to be in these cooped up environments for people. It's not natural that our food's always provided for us, and that when you really think about it, you have an excess of money. Even people, I know right now there's a huge cost of living crisis, so I understand as I'm saying that it sounds a little bit arrogant, but what I'm saying is the cost of living crisis. I'm not going to go into how to escape it or better your life, because that's a personal battle with yourself, and that is it would also be arrogant to assume from me that your position is something what can easily be sorted out, because some people are in dire straits and in tough circumstances they didn't ask for. But what you do notice is we've always had enough money to go to the pub, we've always had enough money to get takeaways, and my grandparents' generation, I was just in a queen bee. Damn. You forget how big queen bees are. You might see it fly past me. I'm not scared of bees, but they always remind me of wasps, so it always gives me that jarring. I was stung by. I believe I was stung by a dragonfly when I was younger, but I don't know if that's possible. But I think it was. Anyway, so you sort of have a bit of a fear of flying things. My grandparents' generation, they had not just most of my grandparents and their friends. They had no money whatsoever. They had no excess money. They couldn't afford a takeaway. They couldn't afford to go out, and they threw parties in their house, and they things were a lot cheaper back then, and they would save up to go out, and they'd save up to go on vacation, which would be in the country. They only ever went abroad once in their life, which was to Austria. And now we have an excess of money. We can get on holiday fairly cheap. We can get on holiday. I've always found this is why I always find the irony what comes in, that you see people that do package deals. I'll fly away to a capital city and people will think I'm living it up, but they've spent double what I've spent just to go on a package holiday and sit around the pool. So when we actually look at what we're living in, what we've created, there is so much excess that we have. Even if we don't realize kind of how privileged we are. Even if we are living paycheck to paycheck, we have food in the fridge, at least all of us have some sort of social connection to somebody outside of our house. And this is what I spoke about this in the last video, maybe one of the most controversial videos I've ever made, that, you know, I'm not saying that the world isn't going to collapse. I'm not saying that things are good for everybody. I'm not saying there are heinous things going off in the world right now, but in general, the world's a good place. Even though we like to point fingers at the country is collapsing, I'm talking about England here, we are lucky to live in a society what is built, and a society where, you know, there's a lot of knock on the NHS being not what it used to be, and that's collapsing in itself. But we also have to remember we have an NHS, even if it's not working. So I think I haven't even really spoken about what this video is about yet, but I think when you actually look into what we have, I think it's bloody good. The problem is that we get ourselves into sort of pattern behavior. So if we do go on a social call, we either go to the same cafe and we have the same conversations about the same things in our life, and we book the same holidays, we go to the cinema every week, and we get into this pattern, and this is kind of where depression creeps in. So I'm a person who believes in a balance. I'm not somebody who believes we should live out here. If somebody wants to do that, I'm all for it. The same as somebody wants to live in a penthouse in a big city, I'm all for that as well. However, what I've always tried to preach on this channel is balance. So I've never been a person who cares at all about possessions and money. And when I say that, people get offended, people get angry and a little bit outraged, because to a lot of people, there's many ways they'll point at you. The first thing they'll say is, well, you have money, so, well, you don't have, when somebody has money, I guess that's a wealth. Like, you're making money, so isn't it a bit hypocritical to say that you don't care about money? To which my answer to that, I've never brought this up to anybody, but my answer in my own head is, I've never ever cared how much I make. And this is the truth. When I used to work fast food jobs, I just enjoyed doing the job. I'm one of those people who is just an adventurer. I just like doing things. And as I've got older, yes, I've found the job I do and the life I provide for myself is a lot more comfortable than the life I once had and the jobs I once had. But I was never a person to, so I started off pot washing. I was never a person to approach it like, I had the belief maybe perhaps this is a dead-end job, but I approached it with, I'm going to do my best at this, and this is going to be eventually, this is going to be fun, this is going to be exciting. I didn't even care about how much they were paying me. Part of that goes into, I grew up in a middle class area. I was working class, but I grew up in a middle class area. But the second part of it is, I always had what I wanted. And the thing what I always wanted was to socialise with my friends. I spent most of my days just being with my friends. So all my time sort of went into them. And that means I didn't care about what clothes I had. I didn't really care about if I had the latest video game. I didn't really care about all that stuff. I just liked being alive and just socialising with people. And if I ever made any money, I would just spend it on a new game or some food or something like that. And this model has kind of gone with me my whole life. At first, I believed maybe perhaps I was trying to be humble. I was trying to go against the people what liked flash watches and liked flash cars and flash haircuts and all that sort of thing. But then I sort of thought, well, no, I don't actually really care, because I admire somebody who wants a nice car. I admire somebody who maybe wants a watch. Maybe admire is the wrong word. I guess I understand why somebody would want a watch or a car, but what it really was, it just wasn't for me. As I'm going through life, I'm never ever thinking about trying to afford an expensive car. And then there's the sort of the thing: if you had the money, would you buy an expensive car? And I think the answer is yes. If I had enough disposable income, I think I'd buy a car. But I think I'd buy the car the same way as when I was a kid I could only afford one book, and now I can afford 10 books. I think I would, it would all be the same. And this has kind of set me free a lot in life. It's given me great freedom. It's given me great freedoms in who I date. It's given me great freedoms in who I'm friends with. It's given me great freedoms on what I do in my life and how my life plays out. Because when you stop looking at, I guess, fitting in with the society around you, what your friends are doing, what everybody wants you to do, the standard is now that you have to have sort of like an SUV looking car outside. You have to talk a certain way, have your hair a certain way, dress a certain way, dress to the times basically. Whatever people wear now, you dress to it, you buy the new clothes. If you can escape all that, and if you can go, it costs £1,000 to go on this 7-day holiday, why don't I split that in half? And I spend 500 and I go to a city what's really exciting and new, and it's I'm challenging myself. And why don't you spend the other 500 maybe venturing around your own country and seeing if there's a special place, a secret hidden place there, or go on another city break, or save the money and go on a bigger trip. I think when you start looking at life like that, I think you open yourself up, because obviously if you go to a package holiday, I'm not knocking them because I've gone on myself, because it is nice to just relax. You will talk, usually, not all the time, but you will talk to people what are usually, it is the cookie cutter thing. These people all sort of share from the same well. They're all drinking the same sorts of information. They all gasp at the news in the same way. But if you go to a city break and you're a little bit uncomfortable, and you come across, you go on a tour and you come across some people what are from different countries, and they're either solo travelers or whatever, they will inflame your life. They will give you invites to their country. They will, that wind's, I don't know if you can hear it, it's kind of interesting. It just sort of like picks up in the middle of the woods and just goes through. They will give you sort of like an enrichment you can't find when you do chase these material possessions. Looking at this another way is, nobody really cares about your social imprint or how you look, because if you see somebody go to buy a nice car, you go, oh, somebody's got a nice car. Or you do the other thing and go, okay, that person must be a douche, because we always symbolize wealth with people being a douche. If somebody's good looking driving a nice car, we just assume, they're a certain type of guy. Which is kind of a reflection of society in itself. It is what it is, sort of thing. We don't need to make that criticism, but we have to. But we also have to understand, and we have to understand in ourselves that nobody really cares. Nobody really cares what watch you've got, what car you've got. And I understand that with wealth there is this whole idea of inspiration. That this person has this car, this person has attained this, look how attractive their wife is, look how attractive their kid is, they've got a dog. Or they're doing the other thing, they're completely throwing life away and they're going to drive a van through the hills, and whatever it is somebody's doing, it creates this stream of inspiration where somebody's doing something what you're not, and you feel like you have to do it. And you might watch the videos. But then when you start watching the videos, you go back into your normal life, and sometimes you'll realize, oh, I actually don't, maybe I'd like to do that, but I don't really have a passion for it. If you really have a passion for something, and this is what a lot of people have really struggle with, if you really want to do something, you'll do it. If you watch a video and you're truly inspired to the point, I'm going to do that, you will go off and do it. And when you do that, you don't have to make a social imprint. You can just do it for yourself. When people make vlogs when they go on holiday, I understand some people are trying to show the earth, and I think it is good, the communication, but some people are just doing it for money and kudos. And people put their families in the vlogs, and they're not enjoying their family, they're not enjoying their time, because they're trying to attain more. And say if you have 10,000 subscribers, you want more, you want 100,000 subscribers, you want 200,000 subscribers. And suddenly your whole life is just this chase. And I understand it a lot, because I also sadly fall into that. I think just by being a human, we automatically fall into the chase. That we wake up and our friends, they're doing this. I got back into running because I wanted to compete with my friends, which I think is perfectly healthy. But you also have to admit to yourself, you are in this race. When are we gonna stop? You know what I mean? When are we gonna? We go to a cafe, we have to take a picture with our friends. We're going to the cafe to take the picture with our friends to put online. You see, when are we gonna stop? And when are we just gonna think of our basics? So I always think a nice balance is correct. I also believe with how the wheel's turning, I believe this is something what we can't stop, but I believe it's something we'll automatically stop over time. I think just through boredom. I don't think the internet's going to be a fad, I think it's here forever, but I do believe that things start becoming uncool, don't they? Everybody does something at once, and then it starts becoming uncool, and nobody does it. Or maybe somebody does it, and it becomes cool again. Just to round this video off, it's good about what I'm talking about, having no material possessions. I'm somebody who always looks for a bargain. If I can find a coat like this one, cheaper than it should be, I'll go for it. If I'm going out, sometimes, because you don't ever want to be a type person, I'll overspend. But most of the time I won't. I'll be cautious about what I buy. Then, to be honest, I do overspend in other areas. I overspend on books. I buy way too many books, what I'm never going to end up reading. But I'm not standing here saying I'm the most happiest person that's ever walking the planet, or the most content, or the most wisest, or the most educated. But something what has truly made my life better is something what I haven't had to do, because, as I said, I've grown up not really wanting material possessions, just being happy with what I've got. Even though I always do want more. When I say more, it means I want more life. If somebody came buying a Porsche and said, "Do you want to come for a drive?" I'd say yes. Do I want the Porsche? Not really. See, that's how it is with me. I'm interested in people, from working class to extremely wealthy. It's kind of all relevant. But the problem is, we are unable to live as ourselves. When we see possessions we want, or we see people with possessions we don't have, it challenges us in sort of like a negative way. It's the same thing of, think about this for a minute. When you see people inspiring people to do marathons, you get a little bit inspired and you go and do it, but then it becomes this obsession. It's not just about getting fit, it's not just about enjoying running. You're no longer enjoying running, you're pushing yourself into this territory. And then you're told to believe that if you keep pushing yourself into this, you're going to get better. I'm a big believer in always pushing yourself. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But it's just this balance that what the society... So I'm a big believer in... I want to go to cinema, I want to go to a cafe, I want to do that sort of stuff. But I also want to be out here. So I think for normal people, regular people, because there's going to be people in society who want to get rich and have Ferraris. Lead them to it. And there's always going to be people who want to just have nothing and live in the woods. Also lead them to it. But for normal people, I think a healthy balance is nice. The same way it is nice to treat yourself to something. But I genuinely believe you can find so much more peace and happiness just within the very basic things. It's just like, if you have to kind of change your mindset and really think about a fresh glass of cold water is something incredible. It's so nice and refreshing. You have to think about, instead of just scrolling through Netflix, you can't find anything to find or whatever, let's pick a book up. Just go to a bookshop, look around, do some research, get a book and just sit and read the book. Walk out here. Even if you hate the idea of walking, just walk out into the woods. Go sit near a stream. Just really bring yourself down. And think about what you've got. We all have the opportunity to listen to any music we want now. We can just have music on all the time. We have a cell phone what does everything. The old generation say, apart from make a coffee. We have all the resources available for us. We have cars. Modern cars are well made now, even the low end ones. We have, most of us, even if we are living in low income, we do have some sense of exposure income where we can go to the pub. The real values of society are always the conversations we have, the people we meet, our enjoyment for life. That's where that contentness is what will set you free. And this even works in how we approach people. You know, if we're trying to find somebody to love and we just can't find them again, you're looking for a possession, aren't you? You know, just sit back and relax. I still play, when it comes to video games, I just play old video games what I used to like when I was a kid, like Fallout 3, stuff like that. I don't really buy new games because I'm just content with living in the past, I guess. I'll go to a bookshop, I'll go to a record shop and just look at things without buying. It's kind of where I want to start this channel, because, you know, I've spent my whole life just I've always said I just need my headphones, my music, and just walking and just talking. That's all I've ever needed. And I get people are built differently, people want different things. Okay, I think you get what I'm saying. I don't want to drag this out any longer. So have a good week. Enjoy yourselves. Give up the chase for possessions, because you ain't taking any of it when you die. When you pass through this world, your possessions don't mean jack to anybody. And when you look into a city and you see all the big skyscrapers and you see all the wealthy people working, they're all clumped in together. So you just look across and go, oh look, there's the wealthy people. But as an individual, if you're in that tower, you might think, oh, everybody's looking at me. And they are. Everybody's looking and going, oh, look, the wealthy people. But at the end of the day, you're not crossing paths, and you're probably not going to socialize. And you have to focus on your life. People are obsessed with each other's life. You have to just focus on your life. What do you believe in? What is your worth? Okay. Ciao.